Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome everybody to our International 5G Technology Symposium. Our invited speaker by Associate Prof Dr. Najam Al-Hasan from Dhofar University Solalah, Sultanate of Oman. Proudly organized by Industrial and Academic Linkage Unit, School of Electrical Engineering, College of Engineering, UITM, Institut Himara, based now in Pasir Gudang, Johor Bahru. In collaboration with IEEE Young Professionals Malaysia. And I'm moderator Norbert binti Siddiq. Like to say welcome to all of you to our symposium, 5G International 5G Technology Symposium. Okay, before we proceed with the speech from our Honorable Associate Prof Dr. Najam Hasan, I would like to invite Sir Kamaru Azhar Kadiran also from Electrical Engineering Faculty to recite dua to be more, so that our symposium will be more blessing by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Ya Allah. Mr. Kamaru, you're most welcome.
Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ij'al jam'ana hadza jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'tuma wa la taj'alillahumma fina wa la ma'ana wa la man yatba'una syaqiyyan wa la matruda ولا محروما اللهم اجعل خير أعمالنا آخره وخير أعمالنا خواتمه وخير أيامنا يوم تلقاك فيه اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Sir Kamal Azhar, for the beautiful dua. Okay, before we go straight to our honorable speaker, I would like to read a little bit about him. Dr. Najam Hasan have been working 14 years teaching, and he has worked in a lot of research experience, where he got 6 years of post PhD teaching experience. About working experience, Dr. Najam, the first experience as a worker is a lecturer in National University of Computer and Imaging Science, Islamabad, Pakistan, Department of Electrical Engineering. And then he became a research assistant in Sejong University, Seoul, South Korea. And also next up to be a researcher in Yonsei University, Seoul, South Korea. And then Dr. Najam became a postdoctoral fellow in Ideas Research Institute, School of Computing, Robert Gordon University, Aberdeen, United Kingdom. And then he accepted as an assistant professor in Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering in Dhofar University, Solalah, Sultanate of Oman. And now currently is associate professor with PhD as a PhD holder in Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Dhofar University, Solalah, Sultanate of Oman. Okay, Dr. Najam has a massive, well experience in research areas, especially in wireless technologies, standards, and protocols of the IoT, Internet of Things. I think electrical, most of us, we know about Internet of Things. Also, resource management in 5G and beyond networks in communication, cognitive radio-based wireless networks, software-defined wireless network, sensor networks, energy harvesting in IoT as well, designing, analysis, and deployment of IoT smart city applications. With that, I think we know that Dr. Najam has a lot of experience in communication, especially in IoT. Dr. Najam Al Hasan from Sultanate of Oman to present his interesting speech. You're most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for your nice introduction for me. And I would also like to thank Dr. Arni for inviting me for this presentation. So I'm very excited to be here with UTIN, IEEE Young Professionals. So let me, am I audible? Yes? Yes, you can hear me. I can share my screen slides. So my slides are visible.
Okay. We can see your slide.
Okay, thank you so much. So I can start with my presentation. So as already introduction has been done, so I'm not going in the introduction. So I am going to start with my presentation. So this presentation is about the 5G wireless communication. It is an introductory talk. So in this talk, I will discuss the vision. What are the services being provided by 5G? What are the different use cases for 5G? And what are the requirements for these use cases? And along with some future direction in 5G and beyond 5G network. So I am going to skip this slide because already this introduction has been done. So here is the outline of my presentation. So first I am going to discuss about the 5G services. Then there are some of the few important use cases for 5G. What are the requirements for these use cases? And what are the enabling technologies to achieve these requirements? And then I am going to show you some deployment scenarios
Dr.
for.
Najam, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. Can you make your slide a little bit bigger so that all of the audience, they can see?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So, and then at the end, we will discuss that what next. What is ahead of 5G. So I just start with the motivation that why we need 5G. So here there are two pictures or two graphs we can say. On the left side, we can see that there are the statistic which is showing that how many devices are connected to the internet. So according to a report by UMTS back in 2011, in 2010, we have 12.5 billion devices connected to the internet. And they predicted that in 2020, the number of devices will increase up to 50 billion. Already we are there. So we have around these much devices nowadays connected with the internet. And on the right side, if we see here, the mobile data traffic, which is generated by different applications, is given here. So this was a report. This was published in a report by Cisco in 2015. According to this report, in 2014, the data generated by the devices or the applications was 2.5 exabyte, 10 to the power 18. And they predicted that in 2019, the data will be around 24.3 exabyte. We are already there. We have more data than this these days. So by having this unprecedented amount of data and number of things connected with the internet, the existing 4G standard is not sufficient. Fourth generation of cellular communication is not sufficient to handle this much number of devices and this much data. So that's why we have to move towards the next generation, that is the 5th generation of cellular communication. Actually, the IoT, normally when we think of the IoT, people think that the IoT is only like the devices which can be home appliances or cars or something, which is something physical based. But the data is what is generated is not only from these devices, but data is also generated from the applications. Also, cyberspace is also there. So this unprecedented amount of data needs something groundbreaking to handle this much of data. So because we have to do different kind of analysis on this data, so for that we also need some more advanced technologies. So here is the services vision for 5G network. So first, with the help of 5G, the user will experience a lifelike multimedia streaming services. So they will feel that if they are part of the scene. So all the applications where augmented reality or virtual reality is required, that can get the benefit from 5G. Next, in 5G, we have different things connected with the internet. If we look at 4G, 4G is focused only towards man-to-man communication. Mean a human can communicate with the other human. Mean at both end of the communication, there were humans, man-to-man communication. But 5G, in addition to this, they also have made it possible to connect machines. Now, everything and everyone, including human machines, are connected together. And this is going to shape up the way we are living. So it is affecting all the sectors of our life. Now we will have smart offices, we will have smart homes, we will have smart stores, we have smart healthcare systems, smart transportation. So everything is going to be smart, mean everything is going to be digital or automated with the help of IoT based network. Then 5G, with the help of 5G, we can control the devices remotely as if we are in front of them, even we are thousands of miles away from them. So this has also opened up the door for many new applications in the field of industrial manufacturing as well as remote healthcare. So this is basically going to enable Internet of skills. Mean anywhere, if a doctor is sitting somewhere else in some other country, he can perform the remote surgery in another country, basically while sitting from there. So it is going to change all the ways, mean where we are living, because we can sit anywhere and we can basically we can sell our skills anywhere, any part of the world. Then 5G is heavily depending on the cloud. So I mean the user, what the user will get the benefit that the user can have the desktop like experience, even his data and processing is done in the cloud. Mean the the user will have only the terminal with the user. Maybe it is like just only simple input output device. It doesn't have any processing or storage capacity. So he has just the terminal from where he can input and output. So all the storage and processing will be done in the cloud. Even then he will feel like a desktop experience. Just everything is available on a single click. So this cloudification has is very helpful for the companies to make the cell phone or devices even smarter, thinner, as well as eco-friendly, because these are just simple terminals and you can access your data from anywhere of from any device and from anywhere in the world. So these are some of the services which basically there are other services also, but we have to move ahead. Okay, so all these services according to ITU falls under three important application areas. So first is enhanced mobile broadband. So ITU defined this triangle. So in this triangle, there are three corners. So each corner, they mention an application area, and different applications fall in these application areas. For example, the first one is enhanced mobile broadband services. So this is going to be used for example, the videos where we need data, very high data rate in gigabytes per second. Okay. Then we have massive machine type communication. For example, in smart cities, we have different applications where thousands of sensors are installed throughout the city and they are sending their data to a centralized location. So, or maybe they are communicating, even they are not sending their data to the centralized location. Maybe there is blockchain and everyone is getting recorded his data on the blockchain. But still, there are thousands of devices to handle this. We need massive machine type communication. And then basically there are applications, just I already mentioned that in healthcare, maybe someone is looking for remote surgery. So in that case, he need ultra reliable and low latency communication, because delay is not affordable in these applications. Like self-driving car or industrial automation, these things are needed. So actually here I give the reference of this document. So I mean, if someone is interested, he can go through this document, and it is just 21 pages documents, which has quite a big detail. It is a good document for the visions for 5G network. So here, based on these use cases, which are defined by ITU, then ITU, with the help of Samsung and other collaborators, especially the Samsung Electronics, they come up with a definition of 5G. This I will call it as a definition. The requirement here we are showing, these are like a definition. So if you see here, IMT Advanced, International Mobile Telephony Advanced, this is our 4G network. And IMT 2020, this is 5G. So if you see the lighter color, it represents 4G. So let us discuss the comparison between 4G and 5G in terms of their definition. 4G is providing a peak data rate of 1 gigabit per second, and 5G is going to provide 20 gigabit per second, the peak data rate. 4G is providing 10 megabits per second user experience data rate, and 5G is going to provide 100 megabits per second user experience data rate. No, both are the data rate. So what is the difference? So I show the difference on the right side. So if you look at this right side, there's a diagram which is showing that we are using a cell structure. So in every cell, there is a base station, and the devices which are close to the base station, they are getting higher data rate than the devices which are near to the edge. So in 4G, normally the devices which are close to the edge, they are getting near peak data rate, and the devices which are near the edge, okay, near the edge, they are getting the 10 megabit per second maximum. So, but in 5G, basically, user will experience much better, and every user will receive at least 100 megabit per second. Even he is away from the base station, he is near the edge. So this is shown on the right hand side. Then spectral efficiency. In 4G, the spectrum is limited. We cannot launch as much more services because already the spectrum is allocated to different devices, different applications. So spectrum is not efficiently utilized. So we need to look for some other technology that can use spectrum more efficiently, even 3 times more than 4G. Then we have mobility. 4G supports a mobility of 350 km/h, but nowadays there are trains which are going even faster speed than this, so that cannot be supported by 4G. So we have to have 500 km/h as mobility, so that even a train is moving at 500 km/h, so we will not lose the call. We will just have seamless handover even at this speed. Then the latency in 4G, there are 2 types of latency I have shown on the right hand side. There are 2 types of latency. One is end-to-end latency and one is the air latency. So in 4G, the end-to-end latency was 50 milliseconds, whereas 5G, the air latency will be 5 milliseconds. End-to-end latency will be 5 milliseconds, and air latency for 5G wants to make the air latency just 1 millisecond. So it is basically reducing the latency by a factor of 10 in 5G. And connection density, as basically 5G is to provide the massive connectivity. So 5G is going to provide the massive connectivity. So connection density, number of devices per square kilometer needs to be very, very high. For example, there is a case, for example, a lot of people are in a gathering, so this will overburden the existing network and it cannot support those much number of users. So, but 5G is also going to support those kind of use cases also. So energy, as we are consuming, we have so many devices in the 5G network, and therefore energy, the use of the electricity is also very important, that how quickly the batteries of the phones are drained. So the energy efficiency is one of the very important factor, and 5G is also going to increase it and up to 100% of the what is being provided by 4G. And area traffic capacity, this is also 5G wants to improve it by a factor of 10 as compared to 4G. Now, if you look at the previous 2 slides, in the first slide, I show the 3 use cases. In the second slide, I show the requirement. Now here, both of those slides are mixed together, are merged together, and we put the different use cases together along with the requirement, because these requirements are defined on the basis of use cases. For example, if you look at enhanced mobile broadband, so it is mostly looking at the data rate. So data rate is very, very important for enhanced mobile broadband applications. If you look at the massive machine type communications, so connection density is very important, that how many connections, how many users you can support in a particular area. Then for the ultra reliable and low latency communication, the latency is very, very important. So this is basically a diagram which is showing that which use cases is much more, which use cases has which kind of requirements. So each use case may have diverse requirements. So 5G is looking for the different technologies so that they can support these diverse requirements. So here, just to show some of the use cases I have mentioned here. For example, in offices, we have a huge data is there. So in offices, the people are more required towards the traffic, the data. They need more data rate to be transmitted. So they need tens of terabit per second per square kilometer. Then in the dense residence, user experience is very important because there are many users, so each user need data in gigabit per second. So in the stadium, there are lots of people, so everyone needs to be connected with the internet. So the number of connection per square kilometer is important. Similarly, like open air gathering, where lots of people are there, or we can say any crowded place, we are looking for the connections. we want to support more and more connections. Subways, I think here is a mistake. So it is our 10 to the power 6 persons per square kilometer. This is the density required. And in highways, the latency is very, very important. We need end-to-end latency in milliseconds. Then high-speed train, we need higher mobility, that even train is moving much faster. It is moving more than 500. So we should not lose the call. Even we should have seamless handover. Then wide area coverage. For example, if we are in a rural area, so people are scattered throughout. So if we should not put more base station, because it will become costly. So in that case, we also want to support wide area coverage. So here are the technologies. So here I took this from Samsung Vision for 5G. The reference is given here. So we here mapping the requirements are the key performance indicator along with the different technologies. So as you remember that we have shown you the requirement in there. There are 8 KPIs, key performance indicator. And here I have mentioned some of the key technologies which are basically going to address or impact these requirements. For example, millimeter wave, multi-rate, advanced MIMO, advanced network, multiple access, small cells, and advanced D2D communication, device to device communication. So these are going to impact different things. For example, if we are going to enhance the capacity, millimeter wave, multi-rate, advanced MIMO, multiple access, small cell, these are going to enhance the capacity as well as increase the spectral efficiency. But if we look at the network to support much more users, we have to go towards the software-defined networking, or NFV. Basically, we have to shape the network architecture as well as the topologies of the network. And to decrease the latency and support massive number of devices, we have to go for D2D communication. So I'll look at these technologies briefly one by one. So first is millimeter wave. So if you look at the spectrum for 5G, here is the spectrum for 5G. So we have here the spectrum is divided into 3 portions: low band, mid band, and high band. The low band and the mid band is the same spectrum which is already being used by 2G, 3G, and 4G, but for 5G and other spectrum is added, that is millimeter wave. That is, according to 3GPP, the spectrum they specified which can be used for millimeter wave is 24 gigahertz to 52 gigahertz. So if you go from low frequency to high frequency, the coverage will decrease, but the throughput will increase. For example, the low band has the highest coverage, but the highest band has the lowest coverage. High band has the lowest coverage. If you look at the low band, so we have low bandwidth, so we get lower throughput. But if you go at the higher band, so we have higher throughput, although the coverage is small. So with the help of millimeter wave, what we can achieve massive connectivity as well as higher data rate, because these spectrums are not utilized so far. The low band and mid band, already they are utilized and many devices are there, and already it is congested. So supporting more devices in those regions is not easier. So what we are going to do, so we are going to introduce another spectrum from 24 gigahertz to 52 gigahertz. And this spectrum is going to increase the bandwidth. So also it is going to support more and more devices. So basically this band is very, very effective for enhanced mobile broadband applications, because for higher data rate, we can go for this. But yes, there are some challenges in millimeter wave, that its penetration is very low. So maybe if obstacles are there, it requires line of sight. So if obstacles are there, so it will degrade its performance. So mean it can only work for shorter distance. So we have to go for small cells to support the millimeter wave. Then we have multi-rad, mean we have multiple radio access technologies and they'll work together. For example, here I have just shown the case of 4G, and if we have two type of cells. One is the biggest cell, which we'll call macro cell, and the other is femtocell or small cell. So a user is getting connected, mean he is establishing as well as maintaining the connection with the help of a control signal with the 4G cell. And he's transferring his data through millimeter wave small cell. So at the same time, he's connected with two cells, one small cell and one macro cell. So he's establishing the connection with the help of one cell, and with the help of other cell, he's getting the data in terabytes. Okay, mean at least gigabytes he's getting. So he's getting good throughput as well as he's maintaining the connection. Similarly, he can also basically, if some Wi-Fi is there or Bluetooth is there, and if we want to offload the data over there, he can offload the data. So this is also possible. Mean multiple radio access technology can be supported. Mean at the same time he can get connected with multiple. So this will basically is very effective for traffic engineering. Mean maybe there is congestion in one network, so he can make use of another network. Then we have, as I told, that in 5G we are going to support massive number of devices. So each device or each application may have different requirements. So for this, there's another concept on the top of software-defined radio, software-defined networking and network function virtualization, that is network slicing. That all the same physical infrastructure, we can virtualize it and divide into different slices. And each slice is basically representing a network that is independent of the other. It is running on the same devices. Everything is running on the same devices, same physical infrastructure, but it is virtualized, and they have the resources allocated to one virtual network are different from the other. So basically they are completely isolated from each other. So for example, the one with high bandwidth, we can divide them in one slice, network slice. Low latency devices, we can make their network as separate slice. So the different resources are allocated for each slice. So ultimately we can meet the diverse requirement from different kind of devices and applications. Then we have massive MIMO. Here we can see in the slide that on the left side, this is the legacy antenna. The beam is not focused and concentrated, but in massive MIMO, we can concentrate the beam towards the single user. And in this case, we can increase the throughput as well as the efficiency of spectrum utilization. Then we have dynamic spectrum access, as we are running short of the spectrum. So at the moment, the spectrum assignment policy is fixed policy, mean every operator is assigned a fixed spectrum. For example, in Oman, there are two operators at the moment. One is Omantel and other is the Ooredoo. They buy the license for the spectrum, and the band allocated for the Omantel cannot be used by the Ooredoo. Even there are no users, no one other can use it. Yes, so this is called exclusive use of the licensed spectrum. So anywhere the licensed spectrum is exclusively used. For example, if you see here on the right side, it is the exclusive use is shown. So some time and some frequency spectrum, they are not being utilized, so they will remain underutilized. And in unlicensed spectrum, which normally we use for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, that is ISM band, it is shared spectrum. Unlicensed spectrum is shared spectrum, so it is so congested because so many devices are, it is free, so many devices are there. So in the licensed spectrum, we can support quality of service because the spectrum is dedicated and it is exclusive use. In unlicensed spectrum, the spectrum is shared, so it cannot be utilized it is very congested. Okay, in the shared spectrum, it is very congested, so it cannot be provide the quality of service. So that's why in dynamic spectrum access, we introduced another paradigm, which is called opportunistic spectrum use. So it has to search for the opportunity where the spectrum is free in time and space. So it will going to utilize this. So for example, here you see here that the blue color spectrum, this is the exclusive used spectrum, and the portion which is free, this is used in an opportunistic manner. So it is whenever it is free in time or frequency, so it can be utilized by the user. So this is the concept of dynamic spectrum access. So this is basically resolving the issue of spectrum scarcity, spectrum shortage. Although we didn't have the physical shortage, but because this shortage is due to the fixed spectrum assignment policy, mean if some operator is assigned some frequency band, other than him, no one other can use it. So what we should do, we should assign. What we should do, we should scan the spectrum, and if spectrum is free, we can make use of it. So for this, one of the key enabling technology is cognitive radio's network. What the function of cognitive radio, that it scan the spectrum and search for the spaces where the spectrum is not utilized by the lessened spectrum, which we call spectrum hole. And this spectrum can be used. There is a cycle shown over here that we have the environment, we sense the environment, scan the environment, means scan the frequency spectrum, whatever the spectrum is free, we say that this is a spectrum hole, and then we check that this spectrum hole can be utilized or not. And then this spectrum is shared among the users, cognitive radio users, which can be the IoT devices or which can be the regular users for the cellular communication. And if some spectrum gets busier, somehow mean the licensed user come back over that spectrum, so we have to evacuate that, and this is spectrum mobility. The spectrum mobility inform the spectrum decision blocks so that spectrum decision decide that this spectrum cannot be used anymore. So the user or the IoT device has to shift on some other spectrum. So this is another technology. Device to device communication. So in the 4G, all the communication happens via the base station. Even the two devices are in close proximity. So, but in 5G, 5G is going to support device to device communication. Mean, for example, if two devices are nearby each other, they didn't have to go for communication through the base station. They can communicate directly. For example, here, if you see that there are different cars and the data for these cars are communicated with one another directly. They are not communicating with the help of the base station. So one can ask that what is the difference between D2D and ad hoc network? In ad hoc network, there's no infrastructure, so there's no control of the quality. Okay, so but in device to device communication, there is infrastructure, so the frequency band for the communication between these devices is assigned by the base station. So there is sort of quality of service and security is there in the D2D communication as compared to the ad hoc network. In ad hoc network, there's no infrastructure, so we cannot, there's no specific frequencies assigned, so they can basically go for the random selection or some different based on different algorithms. So here some 5G scenarios I have shown. So here this is a bird view of Chicago. See here, very dense population. Then this is the existing 4G deployment. So 4G base stations are installed at different locations. So now here the 5G small cells are introduced along with the 4G. So these 5G small cells are overlaid in the 5G 4G network. So along with the 4G network, we also deployed some small cells. So you can see here, these small cells need smaller base stations. It is also saving the cost because all the processing unit, basically the baseband processing unit has been transferred from the base station to the cloud, to the data centers. So it is saving the cost. There is a huge difference in the cost of the base station for 4G and 5G, because 5G base station has only the radio unit. So it doesn't have the processing unit. All the processing to be done in the cloud and the data go through the backhaul network, which is maybe using optical fiber or microwave to transfer the data from these base stations to the data centers or the cloud. So this is also saving the cost of infrastructure. So here is the view where standalone 5G is implemented. So, but if you have only standalone 5G, you need much more small cells and much more base stations. So there is a need of study that which is effective. Either it is standalone is effective, or hybrid of 4G and 5G is effective because of the cost. Basically, if you install too many small cells, maybe the cost will increase than 4G. So there needs to be a study so that the hybrid approach can be adopted to meet the requirements of particular areas. So what next? So here, if you see where we are right now, we are at 2021. So we have already done with the standardization of 5G, and we are in that deployment phase. Many countries are now deploying 5G. In Oman, Ericsson at the moment has deployed at some part of Muscat the 5G network, and they are using two frequency spectrums at the moment. One is 700 megahertz and other is 3.5 gigahertz. Also, you can see here in this timeline that in 3G, from initiating 3G to its deployment, it takes around 15 years. But for 5G, this has shortened to 8 years, and we are expecting 6G in the coming future from in maybe 8 years or even shorter than this. So we are going towards 6G, and hope so by 2028 we will go for the deployment phase of 6G. So here is the journey from 1G to 6G. In 1G, we started back in 1980s, and it was only we support voice calls. Then in 1990s, we come up with 2G that also support SMS, short message service. Then in 2000, there was internet was there within the cellular communication. Then in 2010, we have 4G, which we can call as Internet of Applications, and 5G is massive broadband and Internet of Things. This is in 2020, and by 2030, we are expecting Internet of Skills with a fully digital connected world. 560, what 6G is going to do? 6G is going to fill up the gaps, what the society or the business demands, and what 5G is supporting. I mean, what 5G is missing to be supported for the business demand and society, this is going to be filled by the 6G. For this, we have to go for a number of groundbreaking technologies. We might go for new spectrum, maybe in terahertz, because to go for truly immersive experience, we have to go for new spectrum, because that may require the data rate in terabytes. So then we have disruptive technologies like communication between nano things, communication between bio nano things. We need to go for self-free architecture because this is also a limitation in the existing networks. Then we have to go for more automation through the help of virtualization. We have to go for energy efficiency, and especially the most important for 6G is artificial intelligence to optimize the network as much as possible with the help of artificial intelligence. So here is some kind of services vision for 6G. In 5G, basically we can support the we can support a network or multimedia stream with augmented reality and virtual reality. But now we are going beyond that, and we have to go for holographic teleportation. That is a truly immersive experience that basically you can have. Basically, there are, for example, in remote surgery, we talk about remote surgery that sometimes may need all the 5 senses. So, we have touch, taste, hearing, listening, voice, okay, video, all these. Basically, we want to communicate all these 5 senses, and that is holographic teleportation. And for this, we need to have the data in terabytes. So we need to go for some other spectrum that is in terabytes. Okay, so maybe terahertz spectrum need to be explored after the millimeter wave. Okay, maybe millimeter wave cannot meet the requirements of holographic teleportation, so we need to go for terahertz. Similarly, for the UAVs communication, so maybe UAVs are flying at different heights, so we need to look for that. We have to provide 3D connectivity, which is also missing in 5G. That at the moment we are talking about the network, how coverage is, but we are talking about the coverage in a plane. We are not going up. So in 6G, we also need to look at that. We have to provide the connectivity in 3G. Similarly, it has to impact many other sectors, which I mentioned here in this slide. So here are also some of the requirements based on these use cases, which are basically as according to the new use cases. Where is a combination of use cases will also be there. So based on those, a requirement is there, which is much more higher than the 5G network. We are going toward extreme cases of 5G. We are going for extreme broadband, enhanced broadband communication. We are going for extreme ultra reliable and low latency network. We are going for extreme massive connectivity. So all these 3 courses, all the 3 use cases are in application area which I mentioned. So we are going towards their extreme cases. Okay, so based on those, the requirements are defined. So these requirements are basically very practical. They are not just like basically they just put something which is not basically achievable. So some more we have to go much deeper in the technologies, and these are based on different use cases. These are defined. So these are very practical, and hope so they will be achieved soon with the help of newer technologies. So that's all from my side. So if there are some questions, so I'm here. Thank you so much. Actually, one thing I want to say that all of these technologies which I discussed here, they may need quite long time. On every technology, a separate lecture can be arranged, but because I am giving an introductory talk that is a comprehensive, holistic view of the 5G networks, so I try to cover every aspect in a very, very brief way.
Okay, we do understand, Dr. Najam. Thank you so much for the very informative and inspiring talks about technology, especially in communication right now, engineering communication. So I can see the slides are very, very interesting for me, okay, and for the audience as well. So let us see if there any more question from the audience on the YouTube. Right now, there's no question from them. They just say thank you to Dr. Najam. Okay. Anyway, can you because you are living in Oman, right, Dr. Najam?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you find 5G performance right now in Oman?
Actually, in the 5G is at very initial phase. Okay, so they haven't deployed it yet. So at the moment, Ericsson company is basically the main leading company for 5G in Oman, and they, with the help of Omantel, are basically defining some use cases for 5G that where they can use it for the better. Last year, they they organized a university competition for the 5G. Okay, and then different universities presented some kind of use cases, and fortunately, one of my students won the best prize for UAV communication for 5G networks. So for disaster management, but actually to implement that, I think that is not easier so far. So what they are doing with on the top of the 4G, they are overlaying, just like I show you the case of where the overlay network is there. I mean, existing 4G network is there, and then they are installing some base station for 5G. So they have installed some base stations, and they are using the frequency 3.5 gigahertz right now. So so far the testing has not been done.
Okay,
This is so
understood.
far.
Well, okay, so understood. So we got one question from Jahangir Hossein on YouTube on Dr. Najam. How secure 5G from cyber attack?
Yeah, actually, so far much of the concerns are there about the IoT, that this is going to basically, what is 5G? 5G is basically working as a backbone for IoTs. Okay, I mean IoTs. Everyone is worried about the IoTs, that IoT are going to compromise the security of the persons, because the sensors will be at your home, so it is going to affect the privacy and the security, and people are reluctant to use it. But just one thing in my opinion, that previously when the credit card was there, okay, so people were reluctant to use it, but now they are feeling okay. Basically, they were like this, that their privacy will be disturbed or their security will be disturbed, but now they are using it. So similarly, I think that with the time, the life will change and people will adopt 5G also, Internet of Things also. Yes, security and privacy will be compromised, but people are working on this. People are just basically in last year, I published one paper basically where I proposed adaptive AES for cryptography or encryption for IoT devices for 5G networks. So, but yet there is a need of a comprehensive solution. Yes, Jahangir Hussain is right that there is a need of a comprehensive solution in this regard.
Okay, Dr. Najam. Okay, thank you for the explanation. I hope Jahangir Hussain got the ideas of the answer from Dr. Najam. Okay, from Muhammad Al-Jaf. Could we improve the latency in 6G, Dr. Najam, and how it will make a difference in the real world application?
I didn't got the question. Can you?
Could we improve?
Yeah.
Could we improve the latency in 6G?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And how it will make a difference in the real world application?
Yeah, actually, at the moment, there are many applications where basically 5G is not supporting. For example, I discussed that in the remote surgery, okay, latency is very important. So, but in the remote surgery, many at the moment, basically we are looking at the three senses. We are going to communicate our voice, data, and the video. Yeah, we are mostly concerned about these kind of things. But in the 6G, it is going to provide a truly immersive experience with all the five senses. You can even touch from even sitting very far. You can even taste something while you are sitting very far. So for all that, latency is very important. So these are the things which are missing so far in 5G, but 6G is going towards that. So 6G needs much higher frequency, much higher demand in terms of latency. For that, we have to go for different technologies. So far, these technologies people are trying to start the research. This is very initial phase. So we cannot say that how much percent they will be successful in achieving that. But yes, they have made this claim. They have made this requirement that they need a latency less than 1 millisecond.
Less than 1 millisecond.
Yeah, 6G set its vision that they need a latency less than 1 millisecond.
Okay. Okay. I hope Muhammad Ajaf got the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, again from Jahangir Hussain, Dr. Najam.
Yeah.
You got many fans here.
Yeah.
And one more, if attacker has more than, from Jahangir Hussain, he asks you,
Yeah.
one more, if attacker has more than 50% of computer power of the entire network, the blockchain, to blockchain the system might be paralyzed, creating the new block. Do you understand that question?
No, I couldn't exactly.
Yeah.
Can you repeat one
Me
that
too.
question?
I'm sorry, because I think okay, and one more, if attacker, okay, he jot down here, and one more, if attacker has more than 50% of computing power of the entire network, the blockchain, the system might be paralyzed, creating the new block. I think his question is about if attacker has more than 50% of computer power of the entire network, does he able to block the system?
No, actually, what is going to happen that basically the militia, maybe some node is taking more power. This is what he's saying.
Yeah, the attacker has more than 50% of the computing power to hack the system, the block system.
Exactly, power is very important because we have much more drainage. So basically 5G is also looking for that to optimize the power. Many of my research papers are related with the energy efficiency. We are trying to save the energy in the transmission, in the processing, okay? Because to elongate the operation, for example, UAVs the main issues with the UAVs is the battery. They cannot carry big battery. So if they have to carry the big battery, they cannot fly for longer time.
Yeah.
They cannot carry that much payload. So the battery is very important. So to elongate the operation of the network, basically we are looking for the energy efficiency so that with the less battery, they can increase their flight time.
Yeah.
So that's why we are going for the energy efficiency in 5G, and in 6G we are even going for that because we are looking for 3D connectivity. In 5G we are not providing the connectivity to the UAVs. UAVs are just making the ad hoc network because we are not going up that how much our cellular communication is not connecting the user up because beams are focused down. Okay. But in 6G we are also looking for 3D connectivity. We are going to provide the connectivity even in the space. Up in 3D, to the user.
Yeah. How much you think the cost for the 6G education?
At the moment, it is at very initial stage, so it is very difficult to say something. But yes, I think the most key element which will change all this story from 5G to 6G is artificial intelligence. Machine learning and artificial intelligence, especially the federated learning. So at the moment, different people are learning at their own pace. Yes. So when we federate all this learning, so this will improve our objectives. So similarly, in 6G, there will be federated learning, mean different nodes at different places, they are learning by themselves, and then automatically at the end, they are integrating their learnings and then generating the new things. Mean federated machine learning will be the basically the key element which is going to be change from 5G to 6G. That's what I think.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Najam, for your opinion, your point of view. Can we go to your slide in the millimeter wave system? I'm interested in that millimeter wave system.
The millimeter, yeah.
Wave system. Yeah, here. Okay. Quite the not much way to say not surprised, but I just need more explanation about 5G right now. Why we can say that whenever we are in the 5G age, or 5G 5G age right now. So why you can say that the coverage area is less than throughput? Can we make it balance? I mean throughput and maximum
Exactly.
coverage.
Exactly. Actually, this is the problem with this is basically the characteristic of the waveforms. That when we go for the higher frequency, the wavelength will become shorter.
Yeah.
So the distance traveling will become short. So for example, if you go on the low frequency, the wavelength is bigger. So it can travel fast, far away. So coverage is bigger. So but when you go on the higher band, the wavelength will become very small, and the distance coverage is also small. For example, in
Is there any chance to make it the coverage as well as the throughput balance? Is there any chance?
Exactly, but that is basically that you have to use a mix of low frequency and high frequencies. With the millimeter waves, you cannot increase the distance coverage. The coverage will remain smaller with the millimeter wave. Just like, for example, in your city, maybe some radio tower is there. So there's one radio tower maybe, and it is supplying all the radio transmission throughout the city because the frequency is low. And if you go on higher like Wi-Fi, you have 100-meter basically the coverage because the frequency is around 2.4 giga. So frequency, when you go up in the frequency, the distance, you cannot increase the coverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the time moment, yeah. Okay, Dr. Najam, there's another question from your fans on your YouTube.
Okay, sure.
From the considerate, given the many devices connected to the network or cloud, is there any chance, might be he asking you, is there any chance we given the many devices connected to the network or cloud, 5G might be less secure? Or someone can hack your fridge or your account, something like that?
Yes, exactly. Basically, this can be problem that basically your data is all with the cloud. So that is basically on the trust system as you deposit all your money in the bank. So basically, it is with someone else. So similarly, your all processing as well as storage will be with the cloud. So you have to have some kind of agreement with the third party. So that is the relation based on trust. Because for example, in 5G, my mobile phone will be only a terminal, input-output terminal. It doesn't have any processing or any processing or storage capabilities. What it will do, it will be just a terminal. All the storage and other things will be in the cloud. But this cloud is coming near you. It is basically someone can ask that it may increase the latency. Yes, definitely, if it is far away, it will increase the latency. But 5G, what is doing? It is introducing an intermittent layer of cloud that is called fog computing, okay, and bringing the cloud near to the edge. So in that case, basically the latency will improve. So you will feel desktop like experience even from anywhere in the world. Even you didn't have any storage or processing capability, but you are just feeling like you are using your desktop.
Okay, Dr. Najam. Okay, I hope you considerate for the answer from Dr. Najam. Another one, also from Jahangir Hussain.
Yeah, sure.
As we know, many people say that 5G is harmful for human body, as related to genetics. So how will you look onto this issue, Dr. Najam?
Exactly. Basically, some people are saying it basically, but there is not so far any study related to this. Complete study related to this. Some people in the basically just in the newspapers they wrote basically that this is harmful. Yes, it can be, but because of millimeter wave. But because it is not fully deployed, so we didn't have exact data to say something about this basically. So yes, millimeter, because it is uh, the frequency higher frequency, and we go in the higher frequency, definitely it can be somehow harmful for the, but at the moment what they are using the frequency, they are using 3.5 gigahertz. They haven't gone at very high frequency so far, like 5G. They have implemented deployed. For example, in Oman, they are just implementing at the moment 5G with a frequency of 3.5 gigahertz. So there's no exact study. Yes, it is right. Basically, people are saying like this. A study need to be done on this.
Okay. Let us see. Is there another question from you? For you, there's no more question from the audience on the YouTube. And then for me, I think I already got my answer from you as well. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much to you, Dr. Najam, for your inspired talk and
Thank
informative.
you.
So wait, Dr. Najam, and the audience, let me ask the what the organizer a little bit. Wait.
Thank you so much for the questions and inviting me.
Yeah, sure.
So for further questions, basically, my email is there. Also, basically, I put the reference. I will send these slides, and with different pictures, there are basically references. So you can go back to the references for any further details you require.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Najam. Sorry. There's one question from our audience.
Okay.
He asked you, Farhan, Mr. Farhan, where can I get the slides? Are you providing the slides or not? No, right? Or what?
Yeah. Sure. I will send the slides.
Okay, thank you so much. You will send the slide to the organizer. And then another one question. Which country is implement 5G technology?
Yeah, many countries are doing this, but very initial phase. Yeah, many countries, but at very initial phase.
Initial phase. What? So Oman is still in the initial phase.
Exactly. Oman, basically, here, basically, Ericsson is leading this with the help of Omantel. They are implementing in its capital only in Muscat, where actually people are first looking at the urban areas where more density is there of the people. So they are basically, at the moment, people are mainly focused towards the enhanced mobile broadband applications. But so far, the massive machine type communication are ultra reliable, low latency networks. So that use cases hasn't been so far people are looking at. In the first stage, people are mostly implementing enhanced mobile broadband applications.
What about in Pakistan? What about back to your homeland, your home country, Pakistan?
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, basically, there's no 5G. Basically, I think they are in the future. Maybe basically the frequency allocation board is planning for that, for selling the frequency band. They are basically bidding it soon, inshallah. So I hope so.
Dr. Najam, thank you so much. Another question, Dr. Najam, from your friend on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Ahmad Sharafuddin asks you, do or does something like that. Do the millimeter wave system of 5G network can improve the coverage of 5G network? Yeah. Does millimeter
No,
wave
it is basically going to improve the spectral efficiency. Okay. And it is providing with more bandwidth and more spectrum for application that need much more data rate. Okay, so it cannot improve the coverage basically, because when it is the built-in characteristic of the waves.
Okay. Okay, very short and simple and clear the explanation. So I think that's all from the audience and also from me as moderator. And before we end the session, anything Dr. Najam want to say to the audience, to your friends here?
Yeah. I am really thankful for their question. Their questions were very nice. So I would also like to mention that if you want to have any further questions, you can also email if I know the answer. So I'll try my best to answer that. And also basically here, and I will share the slide with the organizers. So the references are given there. So you can go through those papers. So you will those documents for 5G. So you will get the idea. So this is going to be the future for the, we are going towards 6G. So the people who are working, especially in artificial intelligence or machine learning, they can basically make much for this contribution in this. So I would also like to thank Dr. Arni for inviting me for this presentation, and that's it from my side. Inshallah, in the future we will be in touch, and we will be having inshallah more events like here in our university as well as in your university. We will be looking for further collaboration with your university, inshallah.
Yeah, you are most welcome to do collaboration with us in electrical engineering here, Dr. Najam. We are very welcome you to be a part of us to join for the collaboration. And for those for the audience, thank you so much. I would like to say here that I have given the email address for Dr. Najam on YouTube. Nur Hasan at du@edu.com or Najam_engineer, right? ENGR at yahoo.com.
Yes.
Yahoo.com. Okay, so the audience can ask Dr. Najam personally through the email if the question is not really satisfied or whatever with Dr. Najam. And Dr. Najam, thank you so much for your informative and inspired speech today. It's very good speech. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, and then what else should I say today? That's all I think from
Yeah,
Dr.
maybe there is some photo sessions. So Dr. Arni told me in the starting.
Dr. Arni want to say something? Dr. Arni, our coordinator for the organizer.
It's okay. I think it's the end of the session. And thank you very much again to Dr. Najam. So just now we want a photo session only, I think. So can everyone here in WebEx open the camera?
Yeah, I would like to ask everybody in the WebEx to switch on the camera so that we can do a photo session with our Honorable Dr. Najam from Oman, live from Oman. And then what else? Oh yeah, don't forget everybody to fill up to click the link given by our organizer to get e-certificate from IEEE and electrical engineering UiTM Pasir Gudang as well. Thank you so much for your attendance today. Dr. Najam, please stay. Everybody, please switch on the camera so that the organizer can snap the picture of us.
Dr. Zafran, Kamaru, first Dr. Zakia. Yeah, Dr. Zakia, Dr. Zafran. Okay, Zafran. Okay, everyone is here. I think Mrs. Bibi Sabrina Habibah, Nur Amalina. Would you like to join us?
Yeah, Habibah Ismail, Kamal, Bibi Salpina, Nur Amalina. Who else?
Yeah. Just join us to take a photo session.